Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. A man from the small city of Gumhwa, South Korea, walks onto the stage at Paris Fashion Week, and thousands of people go hysterical before he even opens his mouth. A man who simply carries a handbag to the airport, and within hours, that bag is sold out worldwide. A man whose name has dominated the K-pop brand reputation chart for 57 consecutive months, a number no one in the history of this industry has ever reached before. His name is Jimin, BTS. And in 2026, the world, not just ARMY, not just K-pop fans, but the world in the truest sense, Hollywood, Paris, Netflix, Dior, and Emmy award-winning directors, has finally spoken. They are all acknowledging one thing that many of us have felt for a long time. Jimin is no ordinary idol. Welcome to this channel. And if this is your first time here, make sure you hit subscribe, because today we're going to break down every fact, every achievement, every global recognition that has made Jimin's name shine brighter than ever in 2026. Alright, let's start with what has every ARMY's heart pounding the hardest. BTS is back. After nearly 4 years on hiatus, 4 long years filled with waiting and tears, on January 1st, 2026, Big Hit Music posted 3 words that shook the entire world. March 20th comeback confirmed. 3 words. But the impact? Trending worldwide. Weverse servers crashed. Twitter, or X, exploded within seconds. And the album carries a deeply meaningful name, Hybe Rm, for those who may not know, is Korea's most iconic folk song. A song that transcends generations, transcends eras, transcends geographic borders. And BTS chose this name for their first full group comeback since 2022. But what makes this even more extraordinary is how this comeback was designed. This is not just an album. This is a cultural ecosystem unlike anything that has ever existed before. March 20th, 2026, the Hybe Rm album drops. 14 tracks. All 7 members were involved in the concept and direction of the album. They return not merely as the old BTS, but as a BTS that has grown, that has been through the challenge of military service, that has each walked their own solo journey, and now reunites with energy that is more mature and more powerful than ever. March 21st, 2026, BTS The Comeback Live Hybe Rm is held at Gwanghwamun Square, Seoul, right at the heart of the city, with the magnificent Gyeongbokgung Palace as the backdrop. And this performance is streamed live to the entire world through Netflix, reaching over 190 countries and approximately 300 million subscribers simultaneously. And who directed that historic live broadcast? Hamish Hamilton, the legendary director who has helmed the Super Bowl halftime show, the opening ceremony of the London Olympics, and the Academy Awards. Let that sink in. The Super Bowl director, the Olympics director, directing the BTS comeback. This is not a coincidence. This is the world's acknowledgement that BTS, and Jimin as a part of BTS, now operates at the same level as the biggest events on the planet. If we just talked about the live broadcast, now we step into the most powerful and meaningful recognition of all, one that comes from a Hollywood director. March 27th, 2026, Netflix releases a documentary titled BTS: The Return. This is no ordinary film. It is the work of Baungwin, the director who previously helmed The Greatest Night in Pop, the documentary about the recording of We Are the World that won a Grammy and earned sweeping praise from international film critics. Baungwin is not just anyone. He is a director accustomed to capturing historic moments. And he chose to dedicate his craft to BTS, to the story of their return. In interviews ahead of the documentary's release, Baungwin spoke about what he witnessed while filming BTS, including Jimin, during their Los Angeles reunion after completing their military service. He described BTS as a group of artists carrying an enormous weight, the weight of millions of people's hopes, the weight of a nation's culture, the weight of global music history. And amid all of that, they remained human, humans wrestling with the deepest questions. How do you begin again after stopping? How do you honor the past without being bound by it? How do you move forward together? And through that process, Jimin, according to those in the production, became one of the most captivating figures to film. His presence in front of the camera carried something difficult to put into words, a combination of vulnerability and strength that is rare in a performer at his level of global stardom. Bang Win, a director who has worked with legendary musicians, acknowledged that there is something exceptional about the way Jimin carries himself, whether inside the studio, backstage, or in front of millions of fans. BTS, The Return, is not simply about an album. It is about 7 human beings proving that togetherness, growth, and sincerity are the foundation of something far greater than pop music. And Jimin, with everything he has been through, is one of the souls that makes this documentary so powerful. Now let's talk numbers, because sometimes numbers speak louder than words. In February 2026, the Korea Corporate Reputation Research Institute released their latest brand reputation rankings for individual K-pop idols, an institution that analyzes tens of millions of data points from consumer behavior, media coverage, and online communities. And at number 1, Park Jimin, for the 57th month in a row. 57 months. That is nearly 5 years of Jimin standing at the top, without ever falling from that position. This is not luck. This is not a one-hit wonder effect. This is the extraordinary consistency of an artist who remains relevant, continues to grow, and continues to be loved. The February 2026 data recorded Jimin's brand reputation index at 5,369,144, a figure that jumped 29.62% compared to the previous month, with a positive sentiment ratio reaching 92.94%. Meaning that out of every 100 online conversations about Jimin, nearly 93 of them carry a positive tone. That is an unbelievable number for anyone, especially for a celebrity in a social media era saturated with controversy and polarization. And even more staggering, Jimin is the only idol to have held the number 1 position for 35 consecutive months, a record that has never been broken by anyone in the history of K-pop. The Institute's director, Koo Chang-won, described Jimin's achievement as a phenomenon that transcends the normal boundaries of the entertainment industry. The keywords most frequently appearing alongside Jimin's name in February 2026? Attractive, breaking through, recording. 3 words that capture Jimin perfectly. Drawing attention, constantly breaking limits, constantly making history. If music is one of Jimin's stages, then fashion is another. And there too, the world simply cannot look away. In January 2026, Vogue Korea published their latest issue, and on the cover, Jimin. 3 different cover versions, all featuring Jimin draped in Dior, the French luxury brand that has made him its global ambassador since 2023. Vogue Korea gave Jimin a title that is poetic yet perfectly on target. The Sound of Now. The Sound of Now, meaning Jimin is not merely relevant. He is the very definition of relevance. He is not following trends. He is setting them. Vogue Korea's captions described him as possessing brilliant delicacy, dreamy and fairy tale, cozy beauty, a description attempting to capture something that is, at its core, difficult to capture. The uniqueness of Jimin's aesthetic that transcends gender categories, transcends conventional beauty standards, and creates its own visual world. But Dior is not just about beautiful photos and poetic words in a magazine. On February 2nd, 2026, Jimin was spotted at Incheon Airport alongside all BTS members. For the first time in years, all 7 members departed Korea together for an official schedule. That moment alone went viral. But what truly stunned the fashion world was one small detail: the Dior handbag Jimin carried. The Normandy tote bag from the summer 2025 collection, priced at $8,700. Within less than 24 hours of those photos circulating on X, Twitter, that bag, worth thousands of dollars, was sold out on Dior's official website. One appearance, one bag, gone. Fans dubbed him Sold Out King Jimin, and the title fits perfectly, because this was not the first time Jimin emptied Dior stock simply by wearing something once in a public setting. This phenomenon reveals something that goes far beyond mere popularity: genuine, global consumer trust. People do not just like Jimin, they trust his choices. They want to be part of the world Jimin represents. That is extraordinary brand power, and Dior knows exactly why they chose him. Now we enter the territory of numbers that will make your head spin. On Spotify alone, through early 2026, Jimin's total solo streams have surpassed 6.5 billion, achieved from just 22 purely solo tracks with no collaborations. 6.5 billion, without a single collaboration, just his own music. Who, from the Muse album, released in 2024, has amassed over 2.25 billion streams on Spotify on its own, with over 450 million of those streams coming from the US market alone. That makes it the K-pop solo song with the most US streams in the platform's history. Like Crazy from the Face album made an even bigger wave of history. It became the first K-pop single to enter at #1 on the Billboard Hot 100, the most prestigious music chart in the entire world. And that song has now surpassed 1.5 billion streams. Meanwhile, the Muse album as a whole has reached 3.7 billion streams, making it the fastest-growing Korean album in streaming history. And let us not forget, Jimin holds a Guinness World Record as the fastest solo K-pop artist to reach 1 billion streams on Spotify. These achievements are not merely numbers. They are proof that Jimin is not just a phenomenon in Asia. He is a global phenomenon. His music is listened to by millions of people who may not even be able to properly name K-pop. But they know who. They know like crazy. They know the voice of Park Jimin. If everything we have discussed so far is still not enough to prove that Jimin and BTS are a phenomenon that transcends time, then here is the last point. And it is the biggest one. Hybe Rm World Tour 2026 to 2027. 82 performances, 34 countries, spanning Asia, North America, Latin America, Europe, the Middle East, and beyond. This is BTS's first world tour as a complete group since 2019, almost 7 years. The tour kicks off on April 9th, 2026 at Goyang Stadium, South Korea, and is scheduled to run through March 2027. More than 30 show dates are scheduled in North America alone, a clear indication of just how fully the Western market has embraced BTS as one of the greatest acts that has ever existed. Not the biggest in K-pop, but the biggest in the world, full stop. And Jimin, who throughout BTS's career has been known as the main dancer with unmatched technique and expressiveness, is ready to bring everything that evolved during his solo journey back onto the BTS stage. Jhope once said in an interview that the hiatus period actually caused each member to grow individually. And when they reunite, that growth becomes a new force that fills their music with energy that has never existed before. Jimin, who during his solo era proved himself as a world-class global performer, brings all of that back into BTS. After all the numbers, all the achievements, all the global recognition, the real question remains just one. What makes Jimin different? Why not another idol? Why is it always his name that appears at the top, on the front pages, on the lips of directors, in the decisions of the world's biggest luxury brands? The answer, gathered from the perspectives of those who have worked with or professionally observed Jimin, comes down to a single word: authenticity. Jimin has never tried to be someone he is not. Since his debut with BTS in 2013, he has been known as the one who criticizes himself the hardest, the one most dissatisfied with his own performances, the one most often found practicing alone long past the set rehearsal hours. But behind all of that perfectionism, there is a heart that is genuinely open. He cries on stage not because it is an act, but because he truly feels what he is singing. He smiles not because the camera is there, but because seeing ARMY genuinely makes him happy. Baungwin, while filming BTS: The Return, spoke about how Jimin and the other BTS members wrestled with the most deeply human questions, about fear, about hope, about the meaning of what they do. And Jimin, according to people inside the production, brought an emotional depth that made the camera impossible to look away from. Dior did not choose Jimin simply because he is beautiful or famous. Dior chose Jimin because he represents something Dior wants the world to feel from their brand: modernity with a timeless signature, a uniqueness that does not need to shout to be recognized. Vogue Korea did not call Jimin the sound of now carelessly. That is an editorial declaration from one of Asia's most influential fashion publications, that amid the noise of an entertainment industry cycling through trends every week, Jimin is a constant. He is the sound of this moment, not merely a part of this moment. And ARMY, 57 months without pause, placing his name at the top, not because they were instructed to, but because they see something in Jimin that makes them want to keep showing up, keep supporting, keep spreading his story to the world. And amid all of this greatness, amid the records and numbers and global recognition, Jimin remains Jimin. On January 1st, 2026, when BTS announced their comeback date, Jimin wrote a short message to ARMY. "The year we've been waiting for has finally arrived. Not the year I've been waiting for. Not the year that will explode my career. But the year we've been waiting for, him and ARMY. Together, that is the real Jimin. At the very peak of everything, he still sees this journey as something he walks through together. Not alone, not above, not out of reach." And perhaps that is the most honest answer to every question about why the world recognizes him as the unmatched idol. Because in an era where brilliance often comes with distance, there is Jimin, who chooses to stay close, to stay present, to stay human. Friends, that is the wonder that is Jimin of BTS in 2026. Not one moment, not one achievement, but a long journey that has finally arrived at a point where the world, from Hollywood to Paris, from Netflix to Dior, from the Super Bowl director to the Grammy documentary director, has all turned in the same direction. Toward a man from Gumhwa, South Korea, who danced until his feet bled, who sang until his voice gave out, who has loved his ARMY in a way that has never changed. The Hybe Rm album arrives March 20th, 2026. The live concert at Gwangwon, March 21st. The documentary BTS, The Return, on Netflix, March 27th. And Jimin, together with his BTS, is ready to make 2026 a year none of us will ever forget. If you enjoyed this video, like, share, and subscribe. Turn on notifications because we will keep you updated on all the latest developments with BTS and Jimin ahead of this historic comeback. See you in the next video, ARMY. Purple Heart Purple You.